So for the second time of asking this weekend, we're at Watkins Glen International. 11 corners, nearly 3.5 miles, and it's been a cracking weekend already. Already had one race this weekend, and it started with Seb Prialux getting out of line at the start, and that cost him a drive-through which dropped him down to 21st position, and then the drive back began. Bit of a spin for Joseph Lombardo after contact with Grady Willingham. And then Sean McAllister, had a couple of spins as well. At the line, Efren Castro won the Pro-Am category. Kai van Berlo won overall and the Pro class. So the cars on their warm-up lap for the second time this weekend. Jeremy Shaw is with me in the IMSA broadcast booth and can give us a rundown as how they'll line up for this second of two 45-minute races.
Round 6 of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by the Cayman Islands. 30 cars on the field. We've got 21 of the brand new 992 cars, 13 Pros, 18 Pro-Ams, 9 of the older 991 cars. At the back of the grid, car number 97 is Craig Conway alongside Joe Still in car number 8. Row 14, Tom Belamus in car number 59 with Grady Willingham, car number 21. Thomas Collingwood in 69, Joseph Lombardo in number 92, share row 13. Ahead of them on the grid, Richard Edge in car number 18 with Vernon McClure in car number 10. Row 11, Kurt Swearing in number 17, and Matt Holcomb, who was upholstered in yesterday, car number 55 in the 991 category. Row 10 of the grid is Kurt Hunt in car number 24, and the pole sitter in 991. His first win yesterday for Jeff Myshak, car number 29 for Goldcrest Motorsports. Bill Smith in car number 42 and René Robichaud in car number 84 with share row 9. Ahead of them on the grid, car number 57, John Goetz, and car number 65, Efren Castro, who won yesterday the Pro-Am category. He will start in car number 65 in the 15th position. And if him on the grid is Hutton McKenna in car number 88 alongside Sebastian Carrazzo in car number 27. Eric Johansson in car number 14 and Dylan Murray on row 6. The fastest of the Pro-Am cars, a brilliant 10th overall on the grid for the Runaway Championship leader in car number 99 for iFly Kelly Moss is Alan Metney, alongside him Ryan Gates in car number 11. Sean McAllister number 2 and number 53 Riley Dickinson on row 4. Ahead of them Lee Keane, car number 12, TJ Fisher number 58, Parker Thompson, Kai van Berlo on row 2, and on the pole position Seb Prialux in car number 15 alongside Maxwell Root.
Well, ahead of Maxwell Root now as he heads down to turn number 1. Didn't make the same mistake this time around. The clock is counting down for 45 minutes, and already a couple of cars are off the side of the circuit. It was a bold manoeuvre round the outside, but did not come off for yesterday's winner. And Parker Thompson in there as well, along with Maxwell Root and Kai van Berlo. 1, 2
down the inside.
Yeah, that's a very good run by
nice.
Lee Keane. How did he manage that in the bright red 311 RS car as he goes through? The rest of the field go through behind him. Well, not the start we had yesterday, Jeremy, but that's good news for Seb Prialux for Kelly Moss Road and Race. Really had a fabulous drive back, well inside the top 10 yesterday after dropping down to 21st position, and he's got the jump on his championship rival in this race today.
Yeah, his teammate at Kelly Moss Road and Race, that'd be Kai van Berlo, took the win yesterday, and that penalty cost Seb Prialux any chance to get a championship lead, or retaining the championship lead. but this morning started from the pole position. That's another 5 points towards that championship quest, and out in front now as well at the start of the race. We saw Max Root running very wide down next to turn 1, trying to get that position. That's something the race officials are going to be watching at. We've been very strict on track limits this weekend. He wasn't able to gain an advantage, in fact lost a position at the end of the back straight, so I think he'll probably get away without a penalty. But running wide at the exit of turn 1 is not something you need to do if you're trying to maintain track position.
So now it's a question of getting into your race rhythm if you're at the front of the field, and if you're further back, trying to make up a few spots. Great line of Porsches heading down into the first corner. The leaders already through the climbing S's and on to the back straight towards the inner loop, and it's the man from the Channel Islands, one of the many junior drivers that we have this year, Sebastian Prialux. 7/10 of a second at the line. I don't think it's that as he goes through the inner loop and heads towards the long right-hander of the outer loop, chucks down to the inside. Meantime, a little bit further back, Dylan Murray, the BGB Motorsport, in a very distinctive bright Kermit green Porsche. He's trying to make up some positions as he's in behind the number 11. That's the 311 RS Motorsport car, and spins him out. Oh dear, contact, and Ryan has gone for a wild ride there. Ryan Gates in the 311 Motorsport car. The driver's door's popped open. He's fine, he's disappointed. The steam coming from the engine compartment of that bright red 311 RS machine, and there's rear damage to the suspension. Yellow flags are out, the four-way flashers are on. Jeremy Shaw at the toe of the boot. It's a quick entry to that, and if you're going to go off there, it's not going to be a small accident, and it wasn't for Ryan. But I think he got a little helping hand from Dylan Murray. Oh yes, he did. Nailed him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Dylan Murray misjudged that. He was trying to duck to the inside to make a move under braking for turn 7, but unfortunately he hadn't anticipated the fact that being just the second lap of the race, Ryan Gates braking a little bit earlier than you probably can do once everything is fully up to temperature and speed, and you just clip the back end of the number 11 car as he was pulling to the inside. That just tipped the car left into the wall. So we're very disappointing there, as you say, for Ryan Gates, and I think there's going to be a penalty there for Dylan Murray for initiating that incident. He didn't do it intentionally,
no,
but a slight misjudgment there, I think, from Dylan Murray. It was a difficult weekend. He had a good run yesterday, good recovery drive yesterday, but it was running on the back end of the lead pack. But this today qualified in 11th position, and it's not going to get any better, I don't think, for Dylan Murray.
I suspect that once we go back green, a trip to pit lane will be in order. After that, Ryan, with the back end of the car unloaded, tried to steer his way out of trouble, but heavy contact with the left rear and the unguarded metal fencing to driver's left at turn 7, the toe of the boot. The good news is that all of the extensive safety precautions and devices within that car have done their job. The driver's door popped open, which I think will be a little bit of a worry. The bright red colour is a wrap. All the cars are delivered in GT silver. There will be some bodywork that needs a bit of remedial action. The AMR safety crew already on the scene, do such great work for us here at IMSA, along with the local Watkins Glen track services and volunteers. Thanks to them as ever for their hard work this weekend. Good news is that Ryan Gates is out of the car. He's having a good long look at the number 11. 311 RS Porsche. I don't think he's overly impressed. Shrug of the shoulders saying, I don't think that was my fault. Well, if he can hear us on the public address system, it wasn't your fault, Ryan. Have no worries about that one. I'm sure Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Excuse me, John. He'd have felt that that tap on the back. He was just getting on the brakes. It's a surprisingly quick corner, turn 7. It's downhill into it, but then the road rises as you go, kind of at the apex, and then you're accelerating out of the corner. It's surprisingly quick. It's down probably a couple of gears, particularly early in the race, I would imagine, for that car, but it's still quite quick, and I think he's surely lucky there that it hasn't done too much more damage on that car. But we did see some smoke rise. That could have been just from some residual dampness in the grass down there at the bottom of the hill. That's about the lowest pass, I think, on this racetrack here at Watkins Glen International. But a very disappointing run for Ryan Gates, who's new to this level of the sport this season. He did compete in SO last season in a GT2 Porsche. Didn't have a whole lot of competition in that category, but he's stepping up this year and learning quickly. This is a new team, 311 RS, with which Ryan is one of the team principals, and Lee Keane, who we saw make that brilliant move on the first lap to move up into 3rd position at the inner loop, is his teammate. So Ryan has gained an awful lot of working with Lee Keane. He's been working with him as a driver coach over the last few seasons. When the opportunity came up to join this brand new series, the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, for the first time this season, grabbed it with both hands, and that team is very, very ambitious as well.
That's Jeremy Shaw. I'm John Hindhoff. We have a slight break in proceedings with the Porsche safety car on the track for the second race of the weekend. Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. This is the first year of a Carrera Cup North America, coinciding with the introduction of the new Type 992 Porsche Carrera Cup race car. Brand new platform, wider track front and rear, bit bigger, bit lower, aerodynamically more efficient, particularly with the new mounts on the rear end of the car, the swan neck as they're called, with the aerofoil wing being mounted underneath the posts from the back of the car, and that's from the back of the car. That allows the airflow over the back of them to move over it more effectively and efficiently. So Ryan's car just being recovered at the moment onto the rollback, the flatbed there. One or two other changes as well with the new model year for the Type 992, but still using the 4-litre normally aspirated engine, and that sound is something that I hope we never lose from Motorsport. It is very distinctive indeed. The sound of 30 of them firing up in the pit lane not so very long ago was very impressive indeed. There'll be another lap or so, I think, before we get that clearance. We're already down to 35 minutes remaining. This is going to be, in some ways, good news. I had one or two people yesterday, Jeremy, who didn't manage their tyres perhaps as well as they might have done. A couple or three drivers losing the rear end of their Porsche 911 Cup cars, leaning on them a little bit too hard early on. 45 minutes, about a stint of normal GT racing, and they start off very heavy, of course, with racing fuel on board, and it is part of the learning process if you're going to be an endurance driver, to be able to manage the tools that you have on board. Yeah,
that's very true, and we see a little bit of drop off in terms of tyre performance after the first couple of laps. There's a definite peak early on with these Michelin tyres. A new tyre introduced for this series for this weekend at Watkins Glen, and the special demands of this very high-speed circuit. But that certainly threw a little bit of a curveball at some of the teams, although most of them had done some testing here to prepare for the race. But certainly tremendous consistency from the race leader, Cayman Berlo, yesterday. He was able to run out to a big lead lead over the rest of the field, but then there was a big pack of cars behind him, and Maxwell Root was running certainly very consistent times through most of the race, but definitely dropped off a bit towards the end. He was struggling to keep that field behind him. The teams have 3 sets of tyres to use from qualifying onward. There's one qualifying session only for this series each race weekend. It's a half an hour of qualifying, but from that qualifying session, the grids are formed for both races. The fastest time in that session sets the grid for yesterday's race. The second fastest time from that session sets the grid for today, and most of the front-running teams ran 2 sets of tyres in that qualifying session yesterday. So they came in, ran 3 or 4 laps, went out, ran 3 or 4 laps, set the time, came back in the pits, sat for about 10 minutes, and then went out again, did the same at the end of that race. So that means they had 1 extra fresh set of Michelin tyres to use either in yesterday's race or this morning's race. And so I think, judging by that performance on the first lap for Lee Keane, I think we can certainly assume that he was on a fresh set of tyres this morning. And he's got himself up into 3rd position for this race in the early stages.
I mentioned at the beginning that we have 3 classes here. 2 of them used the brand new 992 car for 2021, and kudos to Porsche Motorsport North America for securing more than 20 of them. Dr. Daniel Ambruster, I'm not sure what he had to do and how many promises he had to make at Weissach. At Porsche Motorsport, but to get more than 20 of them in this championship this year was superb. One of only 5 championships and only 4 Carrera Cups, the Super Cup being the 5th, of course, that is the support to Formula One. And indeed, it was the debut of the competition debut of this type of Carrera Cup car was in North America. Originally we thought we might get 16 or 18, but well over 20 have turned out for this event. As I say, 2 classes, the Pro and the Pro-Am, using the 992s, and we have a 991 category, the previous iteration, what's called 992, the 991 rather, Gen 2. So, waiting for the cars to come back to green as the final bit of clear-up goes on. Thanks again to all of our great marshals. 30 minutes to go, lights still on the Porsche safety car. Seb Priault just going down through turn 1. I'm making a guess that we will get a green flag next time around. Everybody in line astern. And yeah, safety car lights are out. So Seb Priault, who was pinged for changing lanes, coming to the green flag, or coming to the start line after the green flag yesterday, which cost him so much time and potential points gathering in what looks to be a very tight championship run, Jeremy. No such mistakes for him today from pole, but now he's got the pressure of a restart to come with Maxwell Root, Kai van Berlo, Parker Thompson, TJ Fisher, Lee Keane, Riley Dickinson and Sean McAllister. That top 8 is as good as you'll get in any championship, Jeremy.
Yeah, it is a very stout field this year, no question about it, John. And it was a 10-point advantage that Kai van Berlo had after yesterday's race. Sebastian Priault, he'll halved that deficit by winning the pole position, worth 5 points. He did that in the qualifying session yesterday. He was second fastest in the first session yesterday, or the first part of the qualifying period. It was Maxwell Root who started from pole position yesterday, but when they went out again towards the end of the session, it was Seb Priault who jumped to the top and therefore gained the second fastest lap in the session. That's good enough for the pole position for today and worth 5 championship points. So he's got 4 pole positions to his name, and with the win yesterday, Cayman Berlo has 3 wins to his credit out of the 5 races that have been run so far. The other 2 race winners being Seb Priaulx in the first race of the season, and Parker Thompson with a fine win in the 3rd round of the championship at Circuit of the Americas.
Coming to the last third of the lap now. We're about to go back to green flag racing for just under half an hour to run in this second round of the weekend here at Watkins Glen of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. Big weekend of sports car racing with the sailing 6 hours of the Glen on Sunday. And all of these drivers wanting to show well in front of the IMSA WeatherTech teams. A little bit of a slowing down in the middle of the field. 1 or 2 drivers breaking ramps as Priaulx, the man from the Channel Islands, brings them round to the final corner. He'll want to put his foot down as his competitors have some steering lock on. He went before 11. Green flag is in the air, and as they come to it, Priaulx has jumped away, but not by much, and Maxwell Root goes to the left-hand side, the outside into turn 1. Priaulx covers him off, takes the racing line. Those first 2 have broken away just a little bit as they head up the climbing S's. It's Priaulx from his teammate in second place, Cayman Berlo, in the number 3 car. The rest of the field going through. I'd say, Jeremy, that Seb did the best he could there from the restart. He's dragged his teammate Cayman Berlo with him. Then Lee Keane in the bright red number 12 is just a wee bit further back, but he's got a bit of a gap back to the light blue and black Maxwell Root Moore Speed car in 4th position. Through to again the boot.
Good news. Excuse me. Good news and bad news there for Seb Priaulx to have Cayman Berlo in his mirrors. The 2 Multimatic cars, the 2 Kelly Moss Road race cars running out at the front of the field at the moment. And Cayman Berlo, yesterday we saw a really good time management from him. But it was Seb Priaulx who did set the fastest lap of the race as he worked his way back through the field.
Very close indeed into turn 6. And that's Riley Dickinson and Parker Thompson having a cracking battle as they head through the final part of the circuit. 0.2 of a second last time around for Priaulx. Looks like that will improve this time around as he goes across the lines, around about half a second this time to the white and green second place car. The bright red car in 3rd is the 311 RS Motorsport car of Lee Keane. That's the number 12. Further back down, it's a good run for Alan Metney. I Fly Kelly Moss Racing, the silver number 99, leads his class. He's in 11th overall, but he's ahead in the Pro-Am category, and he's got Eric Johansson for MRS GT behind him, and that's good news because he's not in the same class. That's a Pro car, so Efren Castro is the next Pro-Am driver, and he's a wee bit further back. In fact, now he's a couple of cars further back because the McKenna Porsche, the Wright Motorsport entered car, has got past him. So now there's 2 cars between 1st and 2nd in the Pro-Am category, Jeremy.
Yeah, so good effort there by Alan Metney. He's looking to get back on the top step of the rostrum in the 992 Pro-Am category, having won each of the 4 races of the season. Very close second he was yesterday to Efren Castro, and Castro, he's a couple of positions higher up, closer at least to Metney than he was in qualifying. Great effort by Metney to qualify in the 10th position overall. Castro down in 15th position overall, and they both do, by the way, score overall points in the 992 category, but Castro now is within 2 positions of Metney on the road. Just got Eric Johansson in between that pair.
24 minutes to go. It is Seb Priaulx at the front of the field, clicks off another lap. Top three, pretty much equidistant, round about half a second between first and second, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less between second and third now, as Lee Keane just gained for a moment before going through the S's towards the top of the hill. And Max Root just losing touch a little bit, but he's not under any pressure from TJ Fisher. Parker Thompson and Riley Dickinson were having a decent scrap, but even they've broken away at the moment. But the lap times are starting to come down, Jeremy, and these are very quick cars. Oh, bit of side-by-side action. That's Metney having a scrap with Eric Johansson. Now, Eric, as we mentioned, the Swedish driver in the MRS GT Racing number 14 car. It's another silver-based car, but with the stars and stripes. He's a pro driver, so he's now gone up a position overall, but not in his class. So he has moved up a single position. What that has done is meant there are one fewer cars between Efren Castro in second and the team Hardpoint EBM in Pro-Am, and Metney in that iFly number 99, who is leading his class. So through goes the MRS number 14, through the heel of the boot. His next target then for Eric will be the Kelly Moss Road and Race 10th place car. That's Sebastian Carrazzo. Meantime, further back down the field, a little bit of a spin for another Kelly Moss Road and Race car. That is the number 84 of René Robichard. Pointing in the right direction again. Did notice, by the way, for fans of Scooby-Doo, that we have got a Scooby-Doo livery this weekend, or certainly we did during the practice day. Try and pick that one out for you as it comes back around. It is the Mystery Machine, if you remember the truck, the van that those pesky kids would foil all kinds of nefarious plots in. Keep an eye for that one as it comes through. Priaulx just stretching his lead a little bit. Castro trying to find a little bit of pace now and follow the McKenna Porsche. That's the 88 that's just gone past him. Hutton McKenna from Newport Beach in the right Motorsport. Good to see the McKenna Porsche colours back though, Jeremy. You and I remember those racing in other classes of IMSA competition down through the years, and racing competitively as well, those colours.
Absolutely right, yeah. And Hutton McKenna, the son of the California Porsche dealer, and making his mark. He's doing a nice job now. He's just outside the top dozen, but this is his first season of racing at this level. He's done quite a bit of Porsche Cup, Porsche Club Series racing over the years, but stepping up this season into the Porsche Carrera Cup North America and giving a good account of himself. He's not eligible to be in the Pro-Am category because he's too young for that, but so he's thrown in with the pros, but doing a very respectable job in his first season of racing at this level.
Hard cars to drive as well, these cars. Some of the most difficult Porsches that you can drive in competition. Although the front of the field this year, the 992s do have traction control. Hasn't always been the case in the past, although it's been available for some of the endurance series. In a loop, bit of a battle going on. Lee Keane, Maxwell Root together. Maxwell Root in the white with green colours. Coming into the super quick outer loop. TJ Fisher for Top Racing. In behind, sorry, that's Kai van Berlo, isn't it? And Lee Keane, who are battling for second and third. They come, they're dropping away. This battle's good news for Seb Priaulx, who's pulling away.
Yeah, this is a very good run here by Lee Keane in that 311 RS car. He told me on Friday that he wasn't happy with the handling car in the first session, And then the second session, I don't think they got out at all. They had a problem with a soft brake pedal, which they couldn't quite figure out. So he was behind on track time compared to many of his competitors here, but did a super job in the early part of this race, and really putting a lot of pressure on the guy that leads the championship in that children's hospital car for Kelly Moss Road race car number 3, Cayman Berlo. And Lee Keane is pushing him to the very limit as they come out of turn 11.
Cayman Berlo, one of a crop of young drivers that's come out of a relatively small European country, the Netherlands. And we've seen some tremendous talent, Jeremy, come through, down through the years from there. Been a bit of a dearth in the last decade or so, but picking up massively in the last 3 or 4 years, right to the very top of motorsport, of course. And Fritz van Aert's been a part of that. He races himself in the World Endurance Championship, the man behind the Jumbo supermarket brands in Europe. He's put his money where his mouth is and supported a lot of young drivers, including Max Verstappen and others who've come across the race here in the States too.
Yeah, very much so. He has been instrumental in helping a lot of young drivers, particularly Williams VK in the IndyCars. A good look here at the rain entry of Jeff Myshak, who's leading comprehensively now in the 991 category. Another guy who's new to racing at this level, done a fair bit of Porsche Club competition over the last few years, but he's really stepped it up now. He had his first win in this category yesterday over his good friend and teammate Matt Halcombe, but now Jeff Myshak has pulled out to a very handy lead here. On a racetrack such as this at Road America, that's a very, very impressive performance by Jeff Myshak for Gold Crest Motorsports team in car number 29, to be holding such a commanding lead at this stage over Kurt Hunt. It is up into second place for ACI Motorsports, and Matt Halcombe is, I think, stuck behind another couple of cars in number 55, and it's Matt Halcombe who leads the championship chase in this early stage of the season after 5 races. He's got 115 points to 94 of Jeff Myshak, but Myshak is making good ground again here. It looks like potentially for a double victory for Myshak.
Just a note, Jeremy, race controller keeping an eye on Seb Priaulx and Kai van Berlo. The 2 Kelly Moss Road and race drivers have been warned for track limits at various parts of the circuit as Jeff Myshak goes even quicker in the Goldcrest Motorsport number 29 that Jeremy was talking about, leading the Pro-Am 991. 51.9 is not hanging about in that previous iteration of the Cup car. Totally different, that car, from the ones at the front. Priaulx's pulled away now to over a second and a half. This is a good run from Seb, 3rd generation motor racing driver. Meantime, a little bit further back down the field, we are starting to see a couple of battles, and Sebastian Carrazzo's under pressure now for 10th position. Eric Johansson in the mostly silver MRS GT car, but with the stars and stripes, just going up towards the heel of the boot now, and they're having a scrap for 10th position. This has been a good drive from Johansson since he dealt with the Pro-Am drivers and got past Alan Metney. He's pulled out 4.6 seconds on Alan, both using the same machinery. I wasn't sure he'd be able to close down another position, but he's certainly caught Sebastian Carrazzo now in that distinctive bright yellow and black car with a little orange stripe on it. Goes across the start-finish line now to start another lap with just on 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, Sebastian Carrazzo, his best finish this season has been a 6th place run. That was in the 2nd race at Circuit of the Americas last time out, a couple of months ago now. But for Carrazzo, this is where he made his debut in the GT3 Cup Series 2 or 3 years ago here, well, 3 years ago, probably now, at Watkins Glen. And it was kind of an inauspicious beginning because he crashed on the first day, and they missed, actually crashed in practice, I think, and they missed the first race while the team, NGT Motorsports, it was then repaired the car. They had to go off-site and quite a lot, some distance away to come back with a repaired race for Sunday. But for Sebastian Carrasco, track that had some mixed memories for him, but for Sebastian Priaulx out in front of this race now. But Kai van Berlo has been quicker on each of the last 2 laps, and it is Kai van Berlo that is the fastest car on track at the moment in the second place car, number 3.
And took half a second from Priaulx's lead last time around, so that was a third of the lead that Priaulx had built up. That's now disappeared. Johansson right in the wheel tracks of Carrasco as they head to the heel of the boot, over the top of the rise, just covering the inside a little bit. Carrasco then drifts back to the left-hand side of the road, so he gets the best run through the right-hander. Oh, he's way off the road there on the exit. That is one of the places that Race Control is looking at track limits at turn 8. Don't think it benefited him, to be honest, because he had to come out of the throttle. Now a flash of the lights from Johansson, and that tells me that the Scandinavian feels he's got a quicker car. They'll come across the line now with just under 13 minutes to go, but Johansson's not close enough, and he's not been able to get into a position, Jeremy Shaw, where he's actually put a proper challenge in for that 10th position ahead of him.
No, he hasn't, has he? It's a super battle, though. There's several battles going on around this field. This is certainly one of the most entertaining at the moment, because Eric Johansson, this is his first run here at Watkins Glen, the Swede, for the MRS GT racing team, which has had a lot of success, a lot of experience in Carrera Cup cars in Europe, trying to make the move over here. They've had the second car entered for most of the races, unfortunately not yet able to get somebody into that second car for this weekend. But Eric Johansson, having got past Ahmet, as you said a little while ago, is now giving all Sebastian Carrasco can handle at this stage. Another new fastest lap, by the way, last time around for Kai van Berlo in second position. Car number 3 then continues to close on Seb Priaulx.
So the question we've got to ask ourselves now, Jeremy, is Priaulx just controlling? There is radio communication between the pit walls, so he'll know that his lead has now been cut in half by his teammate Kai van Berlo. The 2 Kelly Moss Road and race Porsches then, first and second, separated by 7/10 of a second. But at every split, at every timing point, the screens in front of Jeremy Shaw and me show the tail of the tape. And as they come across the line this time, it's going to be around about 6/10 of a second as they go across the line and down into turn 1. And 6/10 of a second at that part of the track is probably 4.5, 5 Porsche 911's lengths as they go through turn 1 and into the S's, climbing up the hill again with 11 minutes to go. Now lapping at just under 2 minutes, around about 1:48, 1:49 at the front of the field. And this is turning into an absolute belter.
Yeah, it is. And once again, Kai van Berlo a couple of tenths quicker on that last lap than the race leader, Sebastian Priaulx. The fastest lap of the race now, 1:48.619 for Kai van Berlo in second position. That is quicker than the lap record that was established yesterday by Seb Priaulx at 1:48.86. Priaulx's fastest lap in this race was 48.9 and 48.8 actually he did on lap 11. That was his best lap of the race. So Kai van Berlo definitely a little bit quicker, and Sebastian Priaulx there just trying to match the speed. I'm sure he's looking after his tyres, making sure he doesn't take too much out of the tyres in the early stages of the race, and that's what we saw Kai van Berlo do a particularly good job of yesterday.
So coming through the heel of the boot and towards the toe, it's still Sebastian Priaulx, but not by much. Then a little bit of a gap to the chasing pack of Porsches led by Lee Keane, who is about a couple of seconds away from that battle from the lead. And they complete another lap and head off down towards turn 1. They're going to have some traffic in a moment with the number 8 car ahead of them. And that's going to cause, well, an opportunity at the very least for the second place car of Kai van Berlo. That's Joe Still who's ahead of them. They're on the back straight now, heading down towards the inner loop. Closing very quickly on Still. Still needs to keep his eyes on the mirrors. Hopefully his team, Goldcrest, will be telling him what's going on. He's got the leaders coming behind them as they head down towards turn number 6. This is danger time for Prio. Right with the number 8 Porsche. Now, will he get the opportunity to go by before he gets to the toe of the boot? Has got through and clear track ahead, so it's as you were. And that was a nice little manoeuvre there from Prio to deal with that traffic. The next car ahead, but it's well ahead, is the number 97 of Craig Conway, who's doing a much better job today. Sorry, that didn't come out right. Sorry, Craig. Craig, who's learnt a lot from yesterday, and his times are quicker today in the Irish Mike's racing car. Very much at the beginning of his racing experience at this level. Kept well out of the way yesterday, didn't get in any of the lead battles. Watched his mirrors, did a good job, and he's running even better today than he was yesterday, and he'll be happy with his progression. Sits in 8th position in the 991 class, and he's got past Joe Still, so he'll be pleased with his progress, I think, there, Jeremy. I think we mentioned him yesterday, did a great job of making sure that he wasn't a factor in any of the battles that came to put a lap on him.
Yeah, because he was actually outside the 107% rule in qualifying, but after meeting with the chief steward, was allowed to start the race. But Craig Conway, he's been around this sport a long time. The Irish Mike's team is certainly new to this level in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, but Craig himself, he won in way back 20 years ago, he won the Grand Am American GT Championship. So he's got a lot of experience at Rolex 24 and other races as well. Originally from Glasgow, but been in Florida for many years, and I think enjoying racing at this level. As you see the battle continue between Eric Johansson and Sebastian Carrazzo. The Swedes now made that pass for the 10th position, and right ahead of them, or a little bit ahead of them, there was also a change of position with Dylan Murray finding a way past Sean McAllister. Dylan Murray, by the way, number 38 car, apparently didn't get a penalty, but as a result of an incident on the first lap, with which Ryan Gates was the recipient of a bit of a tap from behind. But Seb Prio, meanwhile, at the front of the grid, he just turned his best lap of the race on the previous lap. He tries to hold on to that lead.
Now down to just under half a second, Jeremy. It was a second and a half, but it seems like a few moments ago. It was probably 4 or 5 laps ago now. The bright green number 38 then, chasing in. That's the BGB Motorsports Dylan Murray car ahead of Sean McAllister and trying to close down on Riley Dickinson with 5.5 to go, and we've got a battle between teammates now on the back straight. Spot on half a second. The flashing has started from Kai von Berlo to his teammates. Teammate in the fact that the same set of people run the cars, but not a teammate in the respect, Jeremy, of team orders or a championship that is being divided between them. Yes, there is a team's championship, but these two young, hard charger, Porsche North America Junior selected drivers, these guys are going for the championship and they're going all out for themselves.
Very much so, and consistent lap times here from both of them. Of course, the pace dictated by Seb Prio in the lead, 148.8 last time around. That's his sort of go-to lap time at this stage in the race. That is as quick as he went yesterday to set the lap record. Nice track conditions this morning, a little bit cooler perhaps than yesterday afternoon, but he certainly got his work cut out here, and they'd be very careful there not to run wide on the exit of turn 8 at the ankle of the boot here at Watkins Glen, but a lot of pressure being applied here on the race leader Seb Prio by Kai van Berlo, and these two Kelly Moss Road race cars are running away again. And yesterday the race margin of victory for Cayman Berlo was 9 seconds after that penalty that dropped Priaulx back down the order. And that team already, as you said, has a commanding lead in the entrance championship. They've won 4 of the 5 races coming into this morning.
I think there'll be, let me see, we could get 2 more laps, possibly 3, depending on when they cross the line. So this one is by no means over. 45 minutes is what we started with. We're down to just over 3.5. The lap times are around about the 1:48, 1:49. So it's going to be close to how many more laps we go. Van Berlo must know that, and he's trying to close in. He has closed in through the inner loop. There's now nothing between them. You don't need a stopwatch. There was not even the width of a paperback book between them as they went through the middle of the inner loop that time. But a much better exit by Priaulx gives him maybe 2.5 car lengths as they come through turn 6. Oh, he's gone off the road just a tiny bit, drops the right hand Michelin slick racing tyres off the curb at the end of turn 6 and throwing up some dirt into the windscreen of Kai van Berlo in second place. 3 minutes to go over the rise at the sole of the boot, if you will, as we head to the heel. Through turn 8, Priaulx in the Multimatic supported car, turns right-handed.
Purple sector time in the first section of the racetrack for Seb Priaulx. As you say, he's pushing it right to the limit here.
Has to.
Almost overstepped it, didn't it, at turn 6, coming down the hill there. But this is a super battle between these two very, very talented young teammates.
This could well be the championship battle all season as they go across the line. The white, dark blue, black and gold car is Seb Priaulx. As we move, we'll get the white flag next time around, so there'll be one more after this. So we've got somewhere in the region of 7 miles to go. Second race of the weekend at the Sail and 6 Hours of the Glen meeting for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. And Priaulx goes to the right-hand side down the back straight. Now he pulls back onto the racing line. They're close again as they go through 1, 2, 3, 4 curbs. Those red and yellow curbs taking some punishment. Big slide out of the final part of the inner loop by Kai van Berlo, and he drops back a couple of 3 cars lengths. So breathing room, for the moment at least, for Priaulx. This is where he made his mistake last time around, trying to take too much speed through turn 6. He's way more conservative this time and keeps the Michelins on the tarmac. Now into the uphill, right-hander at the toe of the boot. Get the power on nice and early. Both of these Porsches now torturing their Michelin tyres, Jeremy. I'm not sure what they've saved in terms of performance from the Michelin tyres, but they're using it all now.
They certainly are, and it will be white flag this time around. So with 3.4 miles to go when they cross the stripe at the end of lap 21. And Seb Priaulx, this is much as a tidier lap. It was slightly quicker in the first sector was Kai van Berlo, but slightly quicker in the second sector was Seb Priaulx. So there's still just, what, 3 or 4 car lengths between these two cars as they come up toward turn 11 and then the white flag.
Lots more adjustment on that swan neck rear wing than the Carrera Cup cars have ever had before, and I wonder if they're running different amounts of downforce, because Van Berlo does seem to close right in over the top of the hill after the S's and towards the inner loop. That for me is his best chance, but he's got to get really close here at the bottom of the hill through 2, 3 and towards the top of the hill. The right-handed kick at turn 4. Here comes Van Berlo. He's got another good exit through turn 4. Priaulx knows it. He stays hard right into the braking area. On the brakes, Van Berlo braking very late, comes up the inside, super manoeuvre, side-by-side contact, and Priaulx goes off the circuit. Van Berlo goes through, very much side-by-side contact, exactly as I thought he was going to do it. He did it. Now, has Priaulx got damage? Race control want to look at that one, I am sure. How far alongside was there a car's width there? No doubt the contact took Priaulx off the track, and that may be the consideration that race control's looking at the moment. But for the moment, Kai van Berlo leads, and unless something goes astray in the last 4 corners, he will win this race. Huge amount of grass cuttings in the air intake, but with just about a mile or so to go, that's not a problem for Sebastian Priaulx to bring that car home in second. Last lap, down the inside for the Dutchman, all or nothing. Will that be allowed to stand? Not seeing anything from race control at the moment. It was bold, it was decisive, it was certainly robust. That's why I'm pleased I'm not making the calls in race control. Kai van Berlo makes it the double at Watkins Glen. Takes the second race of the weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. Battered and bruised in second, Sebastian Priaulx finishes a 2.5 back. Lee Keane will be on the podium in third for 311 RS Motorsport. In the classes, Alan Metney in the 99 iFly silver car will come through just outside the top 10, 13th position for Alan, but with a handy 4-second gap back to Efren Castro for Team Hardpoint EBM in second. And in the 991 Gen 2 class, it's going to be the Goldcrest Motorsport number 29, the bright blue car. What a run! What a run for Jeff Majorak. He comes to the line now. Well, Jeremy, that we said, well, incident is under review. Just had it in from race control, so everything that we say now about how they crossed the line is provisional. Everything that we say now, but for the moment, having gone across the line in first position, if that stands, Kai van Berlo will increase his lead at the top of the championship. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, that was an amazing pass by Kai van Berlo. He decided he was going to go for it. I mean, that was a brilliant move, quite frankly. Let's have a look at it here on the replay. Seb Priaulx, he kept the door shut all the way down the straightaway, but then he opened the door and Kai van Berlo said, OK, fine, I'm going to go for it. He did. He kept the car on the racetrack. That was a brilliant pass, I reckon, by Kai van Berlo. Seb Priaulx thought he'd got it covered. He hadn't. And Kai van Berlo saw the opportunity. He braked as deep as he possibly can on the inside line. Yeah, there might have been a little bit of contact between the two, but for me, no problem there. Just a brilliant pass by the young Dutchman. And Seb Priaulx, he'd be kicking himself a little bit. He'd done everything right up until the braking area, where he tried to take the optimal line, which from the left-hand side of the racetrack, but that left one Porsche's width on the inside for Kai van Berlo to go. If he was going to make that pass, he did it. He made it stick, and that was just a tremendous win to maintain his championship lead.